James says, miseries are coming on the rich. That's a good thing I'm not rich then. But I always hear about the rest of the world living on like $3 a day, so maybe I am rich. Well, what's it mean to be rich, and is it a bad thing? Welcome to Looking Intently. I'm going through the book of James right now, and if you want to catch up on any past videos, click the tag in the upper right, and to make sure you're notified of all the new ones, click the subscribe button and then that bell icon in the lower right. I raised this question, who is rich? And what's really more important than who's rich economically is who's rich in the way James is talking about it, because it's not a good thing. Look what he says in chapter 5, verse 1. He says, "Come now, you rich, weep and howl for the miseries that are coming upon you." Wow, that looks right there that if you're rich, you're going to experience miseries. God is going to bring them on you, what James is saying there. They're going to happen. And you look at the context and you see it's eternally. Being rich will lead to you going to hell? Is that what that verse means? And as always, when you have a question, couple things. First of all, you interpret less clear passages by clear passages. This is definitely less clear. Are you going to hell because you're rich? If that's the only verse you had, you'd really wonder. But that's not all we have. Some clear passages about salvation tell us that, we are lost because of our sin, not because of our bank account, and we're saved by grace through faith. So again, it's not tied to our finances directly. And James doesn't tie it directly, but look what he goes on to say about the rich people specifically that he's talking about. Verses 2 and following, he says, "Your riches have rotted and your garments are moth-eaten. Your gold and silver have corroded, and their corrosion will be evidence against you when you eat, and will eat your flesh like fire. You have laid up treasure in the last days. Behold, the wages of the laborers who mowed your fields, which you kept back by fraud, are crying out against you. And the cries of the harvesters have reached the ears of the Lord of hosts. You have lived on the earth in luxury and in self-indulgence. You have fattened your hearts in a day of slaughter. You have condemned and murdered the righteous person. He does not resist you." Now, you read all that and you realize this is not a good person. This is not a godly person. And it's not a matter of how much money's in their bank account that James is talking about. It's what they do with that. It's the way they live. And we're not saved by our actions, by our works, but our fruit, what we do, the way we live indicates, is there saving faith? Have we been saved by grace? And so these miseries, again, they're not coming on them because they're rich. But being rich has led to them rejecting God, whether they say so or not. So what is it? How do I know if I'm rich in this way? How do I know if I'm rich in a way that goes against God? Well, James gives two ways that they are rejecting God, that they're totally disobeying Him, and it's part of being rich. Riches are not inherently evil, but they are inherently dangerous because they can lead to just what James talks about here. The first one, in verse 2, he says, "Your riches have rotted and your garments are moth-eaten. Your gold and silver have corroded." So he's talking about the forms that their riches would take, and one was garments. And he says, your riches have rotted, the things like that, your garments are moth-eaten. Well, think about it. What kind of garments even today, which ones do you protect against moths? Are you familiar with mothballs and, what you do with those? I don't know that we use them a lot. I remember my grandma having them, I guess, in some closet with some clothes that were never used, like an old wedding dress, things like that. Oh, that's the point James is making. The only way clothes are going to get moth-eaten is if they're not used. And if they're not used in his day and age, that meant they weren't needed. You have more than you need. Same thing with their gold and silver. If it's being corroded, it's because they're not using it or tucking it away. And James is certainly not against saving. Don't misunderstand that. Proverbs talks about it. It's wise to have savings for the future. But James is talking about an attitude where they truly have more than they need. And underlying that would be, the worst thing is they're not trusting in God. They're trusting in having enough just in case versus trusting God. And again, there's a balance there between that and savings, but they've crossed the line, and that's what James is saying. So that's the first way you can be rich in this negative way. The second way he mentions in verse 4, he says, "Behold, the wages of the laborers who mowed your fields, which you have kept back by fraud, are crying out against you." So here is just sheer dishonesty, fraud, greed, that someone did a job for you and you don't pay them. You cheat them out of it. And so that's obviously wrong. Again, it's not just being rich, it's using your riches in that way. Being greedy, being dishonest. And once again, you can see a foundational idea of, why am I greedy? Why don't I give it away? Because I need to have it. I don't trust God. You see this, it's not inherently wrong to be rich. The Bible gives us a guideline for that though. 1 Timothy 6, verses 17 and following, it says, "As for the rich in this present age," and he's writing to believers, so rich believers, "charge them not to be haughty, nor to set their hopes on the uncertainty of riches, but on God, who richly provides us with everything to enjoy." So there's that idea. Don't trust in the riches themselves, trust in God. Then he goes on to say, they are to do good, to be rich in good works, to be generous and ready to share. And there's that other idea. Be ready, be willing to share, not just to someone who's done a job and definitely has earned it, but even in general. You see the early church, they shared with each other when there was a need. There shouldn't be a need among Christians when they're part of a body. 19 goes on to say, "Thus storing up treasure for themselves as a good foundation for the future, so that they may take hold of that which is truly life." They're supposing the idea riches aren't a good foundation for the future. Trying to take hold of those, that's not what real life is. Real life is what's waiting for us when we trust in God and we share our riches. So am I rich? Well, that's far more a question of what I do with my money than how much money I have. And the key to determining if I'm rich in this way that James says is wrong is, does what I do with my money show trust in God or not? Does what I do with my money and what I buy with my money and how much I buy with my money, does that show I trust in God or I'm trusting in those things? That's the key that's going to determine it. That's the kind of things you see as you read the good book, like a good book.